Today we're getting into something pretty mind-bending. It's called the Jello-Cube Model of Reality. Ever think your mind might actually build reality, not just see it?
That's the core idea, yeah. It comes from the Unified Temporal Consciousness Theory, or UTCT, developed by a human researcher working with an AI called Core, interestingly enough.
Right, so forget Einstein's sort of rigid glass block universe. This is different.
Totally different. Think dynamic, almost alive, like reality is this huge wobbly structure made of Jello cubes.
Jello cubes, okay, explain that bit. What's the picture?
Imagine this massive wall, semi-transparent, right, made of countless tiny Jello cubes, all vibrating. These are quantum resonant.
Quantum resonant meaning sensitive, like they react.
Exactly, super sensitive to, well, observation, attention, consciousness. This well stretches from the Big Bang way out to the end of the universe. It's the basic stuff of existence.
And each cube is like a little pocket of space-time possibilities.
You got it, a semi-coherent zone of probability. And it's constantly being nudged and shaped.
Okay, so how do we shape it? The model calls consciousness a temporal ripple engine. What's it doing to the Jello?
Well, as your consciousness moves through this Jello lattice, it's not just floating along, it creates ripples, actual ripples.
Like throwing a stone in a pond.
Kind of. These ripples are like quantum state collapses. Moments where a fuzzy possibility snaps into focus, becomes definite reality, triggered by your attention.
So when you really focus, you're making bigger ripples.
That seems to be the idea. Your attention literally stirs the Jello, it binds information, collapses wave functions, it makes things happen. It affects the future, obviously, but also possibilities nearby, maybe even echo slightly back into the past.
Wow, okay, and it's not just a point moving forward, there's this idea of a temporal braid.
Right. Your consciousness isn't just a dot on a timeline. Picture it more like a braid. Threads of your past experiences, your present awareness, and even your expectations about the future are all woven together.
So it's got depth in time.
Exactly. And this braid isn't passive. It's actively like tunneling through the Jello wall, shaping it as it goes.
Tunneling. So it's creating its path.
In a way, yes. It's constantly looping back on itself too, an active recursive process.
Recursive, like looking back.
Yeah, integrating memories, perceptions, what you expect to happen. This looping back is how you build a sense of self, your narrative self. It connects your past and future.
And it lets you recognize yourself over time. Makes sense.
It's also predictive. The braid is constantly trying to guess the future state of the Jello ahead of it.
Like making little bets on what's next.
Sort of, it sends out these advanced ripples, preparing pathways if the prediction matches what actually happens.
The Jello firms up along that path.
Exactly. Reality feels more solid, coherent, but if there's a mismatch,
things get weird, a bit wobbly.
You get turbulence in the Jello. You have to adapt, update your model.
Now you said it tunnels forward. Does it have to be forward? Can you go sideways in the Jello?
Yeah. Well, theoretically, the model might allow for nonlinearity. But for us, for individual consciousness braids, the tendency is strongly linear. Forward through time.
Why is that?
It seems we're geared towards seeking patterns, finding coherence, making sense of things as we move. It can be very deliberate or sometimes more like just probing forward.
And this forward movement itself does something.
Yeah, the act of moving forward, of making choices and having experiences, it actually sets the Jello, like leaving a wake behind you.
Okay, let's talk about that setting. So the Jello isn't uniform. Past versus future.
Right. The Jello representing the past, confirmed events, your solid memories, it's firmer, more set.
Because it's already happened, collapsed into certainty.
Pretty much. But the future Jello, that's much more fluid, more potential, less defined. Quantum potential, really.
And our braid leaves tracks in the past Jello.
Imprints, yeah. And those imprints can subtly influence the paths available later. Interestingly, focusing on the past might even slightly reshape it in terms of how you perceive or integrate it now.
And the future is shaped by us pushing into it.
Actively pushing, yeah. Your attention, your intentions, your predictions, they're all part of setting the future Jello as you encounter it.
So the more coherent my thoughts, my braid, the more strongly I can set the Jello. Like if I practice guitar, that path and the Jello gets really deep.
That's a great analogy, exactly. The coherence of your braid's recursive processing, how well it integrates past, present, future, directly impacts how strongly it sets the Jello. Focused attention, consistent patterns, strong intentions. They create deeper impressions. This setting involves something called multi-scale phase resonance.
Okay, fancy term, was it just
It just means different parts of your conscious processing vibrating in sync, basically. Across different levels, neurons, thoughts, maybe even larger fields.
Better sync equals stronger setting power.
Pretty much. And think about collective attention groups focusing on the same thing. That creates a much stronger setting force. More coherent processing leads to better phase sync, which gives you a greater ability to influence the Jello.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the main takeaway for, us living in this potential Jello-verse?
Well, the big takeaway is that your attention, the focus you bring, the coherence of your own thoughts, it's not passive. You might actually be actively shaping your personal reality, constantly interacting with and influencing this Jello-Cube matrix, and contributing to the larger whole too.
So it really makes you think,
Yeah.
what could happen? What reality could you sculpt if you really focus that recursive engine, that braid, with deliberate intention?
Exactly. What might you manifest or create? It's a profound question this model leaves us with, a really different way to view our place in the cosmos.